What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. NFL Week 5 is here. Today, I am joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game, Sean Koerner. I am joined by touchdown betting guru, Gilles Gallant. This is the Touchdown Show. Fellas, what's going on? Sean, I'll start with you. We had a few of these last week. Dart, Pitts, Irving, Olave, Hampton, Genty. How you feeling?
Yeah, good. I had Dart and Hampton in that same game. I don't know if we're going to get Dart at plus 350 anymore. He looked pretty good rushing the ball. But yeah, I was so close on the AD Mitchell plus 450. Again, He's the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, in theory, you'd probably want to just ladder his receiving yards over. He finished with 96 yards and an inch away from a touchdown, but he celebrated a bit too early, so he didn't catch the plus 450. But I'd go back to the well there if I had to again. It was so close.
Koerner, AD Mitchell is never in his career having as many yards as he had in that last game. This is like Gilles with Mariota. Like, Gilles is just like, no, Mariota's terrible. It's never happening. It probably will happen, but I mean, Joe, what do you think? What do you think about AD Mitchell?
I mean, the one thing that I would give him credit for is that he was at least reaching out, you know what I mean, to try to score. It wasn't like the toss behind, like his Jonathan Taylor, Deshaun Jackson, all that kind of stuff. So I try to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but I think Alex Pierce might be back this week too. So I don't know how much playing time he's going to get going forward, but I mean, AD Mitchell, that was prime time for him. And I think, I just think right now he probably needs a week just to cool out. Let's see what happens on that receiving side on the Colts, and then maybe he can get his role back. But, yeah, after that, he's going to live in infamy.
Yeah, his role is to back up Pierce. I said, he'll go back to, being a bench warmer this week. And I don't care if he doesn't do it again. He did it last week when I said he'd go off. So that's all that matters. But, again, it was so close on the touchdown. But, I mean, he crushed his, yardage ladders for sure.
All right, we're going to get into our favorite touchdowns for every game on the Week 5 slate. We'll alternate giving our favorite touchdown bets there. We'll also get to some parlays set up for Sunday and Monday Night Football. Before we get out of here, we'll track them in the Parlay Express account on the Action Network app, so be sure to follow that. Also, if you want to tail some of these bets, just look for the quick slip link down in the podcast and video description, or you can go to actionnetwork.com/bet. Now, this episode should drop shortly before Thursday Night Football, so we'll start right there. Thursday Night Football, Niners at Rams. Niners just completely decimated on offense. Looks like it's going to be Mac Jones throwing to Kendrick Bourne, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I can't even think of all these receivers, Koerner.
Sky Moore.
Oh, yeah, DeMarcus, he's back. So, I mean, what do you do in this spot if you're looking for a touchdown bet?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jake Tonjes here at plus 425. Like you just said, the wide receiver room is completely decimated and depleted right now. But Tonjes is still filling in for Kittle and should see, increase in targets here just by everybody being hurt. And he's scored twice this season. He's looked solid. He's out there running a route, around 70% of the dropbacks, maybe higher tonight. Who knows? So I just think that plus 425 tonight is too good to pass up for him.
Yeah, and I got to give you credit, Koerner, for resisting the temptation to just go with Christian McCaffrey. Luckily, the 49ers have another lunch pail guy who just comes in early and leaves late in their starting lineup in Tonjes. So we'll see how that goes. Jill, we got Rams, Niners, Thursday night.
I'm giving the same guy. I think this guy has been given out as a Ram every week on this show, so I'm keeping the tradition going. Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown. He's scored in 3 or 4 games. Leads the NFL in end zone targets with 9. I think I'll also just mention Puka Nacua, who I think is amazing. Sometimes gets maybe a little too much love from the receptions and the yardage. Like, he's not really somebody who gets a ton of end zone targets. Now, he has scored, and we've seen him even run for a rushing touchdown. But when they get within inside the 20, they are looking for Devontae repeatedly. So I think anytime we can get Devontae at plus odds at this rate, especially in a favorable matchup, I think we have to take him.
Oh, man, I like that, Joe, because you kind of teed up my anytime touchdown selection for this game with those little nuggets there. Because, yeah, I'm going to Rams wide receiver. It's not Davante Adams. It's not Puka Nacua. It's not even my favorite Rams receiver, Tutu Atwell, who scored on a long play last week. It's Jordan Whittington at plus 550. This is the guy that if you look at the underlying red zone usage, he is in there on every red zone snap for this Rams team. It's not Atwell. It's Jordan Whittington. And what do you have for this game? You have starting tight end Tyler Higbee out. So that increases the odds, I think, of more 1-1 personnel, Sean McVay's bread and butter, in the red zone. And that third receiver, more often than not, is going to be Jordan Whittington. They love him for run blocking and things like that. So he's going to be in there. And he's the guy that's most likely to kind of sneak by the defense. He's going to get the least coverage out of all these guys. That's just what happens when you have a Davante Adams, you have a Puka Nacua, you have a Kyron Williams on the team. So at plus 550, I think his odds are being sold a bit short. I have him around around just over 20% chance to score in this game. I think that he's been undervalued all year, and we haven't really seen him get in the end zone yet. So I like it for this spot. So Jordan Whittington for me at plus 550. If you parlay all of these together on DraftKings, Jake Tonjes for Sean at plus 425, Davante Adams for Jill at plus 130, and Jordan Whittington for me at plus 550. You get an 80-1 same game parlay on DraftKings. We'll track this in the Parlay Express account in the Action Network app. So be sure to follow that account for this parlay and more. All right, before we get into the Sunday slate, I'll toss it over to myself for a word from our sponsor. The Action Network podcast is sponsored by DraftKings, and in partnership with DraftKings, we'd like to tell you that the next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. That's right. New customers turn $5 into $200 if your bet wins, paid instantly in bonus bets. To get started, use promo code Action Network when signing up. Once more, use Action Network when signing up with DraftKings to get on board. The crown is yours. All right, Sunday slate. We have another early game, so Sean, be sure we're up in case there's a late scratch early like there was last week with Jaylen Warren. Led to good things for Kenny Gainwell, favorite of the show, who seems to, or guy just never seems to go away. But on this one, maybe the touchdowns will go away because the total for this game is about 35-36. Sean Koerner. It is Vikings Browns in the UK, I believe. Yeah, in the UK. Yeah. Who are you looking at? If there's a if you think there's going to be a touchdown in this game, who are you looking at?
Yeah, well, I guess I could do the no touchdowns, but it's a low total, so I think we're going to get some decent prices on the two guys I'm talking about. But the first one, this game's in London, so this is a homecoming game for Bond. Isaiah Bond at plus 500. So let's go with him because I was already, excited about him this week on the waiver pod, Raybon, and he's just an up and coming guy who hasn't scored yet. So hopefully he doesn't pull an AD Mitchell, but he's a guy I want to invest in before he does because, he was an undrafted rookie, but that was only because he was dealing with some legal issues at the time of the draft. A lot of people thought, he was like a third round prospect at one point. He was considered like a first round talent. So he was undrafted. Browns scooped him up, and then his legal issues were resolved. So he joined the Browns late in preseason. And his role's been growing every single week so far. He was eating into Cedric Tillman's role, and now Cedric Tillman's out. So I think he's the clear number 2 wide receiver right now. So again, I want to invest in him before he scores his first touchdown, before the market catches on. So give me Bond at plus 500. And then I got to go with Raybon's guy on the other side, Jalen Naylor at plus 900. Again, we're not expecting many points here. So I think, the studs on the Vikings are a bit overpriced. There's not really much value there. So I think taking a guy like Naylor makes a ton of sense. He's always sneaky in this market, and he's plus 900 here. I barely cashed on his under 1.5 receptions last week. They were peppering him with targets at the end of the game. I think he got 3 straight end zone targets. He finally caught one of them for the score. So they love looking his way in the red zone because you're having to cover Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, worried about Jordan Mason. So tends to get open, near the end zone. So projecting him closer to plus 750. So I like the value we're getting here at 9-1.
Yeah, and quick question. I know this is not a fantasy pod, Koerner, but I love the Bond call. A lot of people lost Neighbors, lost Tyreek. How high are you ranking Bond this week? Because if I give him the full Cedric Tillman role, he creeps into my top 40. Curious where you have him for this week.
I don't have him that high. I do think he's going to take the full Tillman role. I think the variable is we now have Dylan Gabriel, who could be better or worse than Flacco. We don't really know. I think he's going to have a little bit more chemistry with Bond because they have been on the second unit. But that's just kind of the variable that I don't really know. And this is a tough matchup for rookie going up against the Brian Flores defense. So that's my only concern. But yeah, I think Bond absolutely has the upside to be a top 40 type receiver. I'm just being a little bit more conservative, this week around wide receiver 50. But yeah, he has a ton of upside for sure.
Anything better than Flacco, man. And Flacco has just been horrible through 4 games at this point. I was going to
say, no, Bond, Naylor, and I'll say if it's not those two guys, it's probably going to be Quinshon Judkins again.
Yeah, Judkins.
This is what the Browns are doing these days. But no, love the Isaiah Bond call. Really love that one. All right, Jill, let's go to the normal daytime slate. Miami at Carolina. Was surprised to see Carolina as a home dog. I mean, Miami's season has been kind of just circling the drain too, but of course they get the win over the hapless Jets in prime time. So I guess Miami's riding high here. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I think we got to go with Ollie Gordon, the backup running back behind Devon Achane. He's around plus 320. So he scored in week 3, and right now through 4 games, I was actually surprised when I saw this, but he has as many red zone carries as Devon Achane, and all the carries inside the 5-yard line. Devon Achane, as prominent as he is in that offense, he's just not getting those carries between the tackles, especially when they get inside the 10-yard line. And I also would just like to point out, I think this Panthers run defense has started to crack because I think there was almost too much of a shift after that week 3 game against the Falcons where, they shut down Bijan and Algier. And it's like, no, settle down, because we just watched in week 4, the Patriots had 3 rushing touchdowns. Antonio Gibson, Travion Henderson, Drake May ran one in. And I think they're going to have to probably lean a little bit more on the run as well, because their offense is going to take a complete shift now with Tyreek Hill, where he won't necessarily bend the defense the way that, he had in previous times. So I think if they go with a more conservative approach and take a little bit off of Tua's plate on the passing side, they're going to run it a little bit more. So Ollie Gordon around plus 320 is my favorite Dolphin bet. But on the Panthers side, I think we just got to keep taking the quarterbacks to score on the Dolphins. Bryce Young, he's right now around 6-1. I'm seeing high odds around 6-1 and as low as like plus 250 at other places. And the Dolphins just, I don't know what's their deal, but they just give up touchdowns to quarterbacks. Even Justin Fields on a 4th down and 5 still ran for a 46-yard touchdown on them. Daniel Jones ran for twice on them. Drake May ran one in. The only quarterback actually to not score on them, surprisingly, and go figure, was Josh Allen, which was funny. And now Bryce Young, he ran for a touchdown in week 2. He had actually 6 rushing touchdowns last year. And I think if the Dolphins, one of the things that I've noticed as well is in the red zone, they're playing a lot more man coverage. Now, a lot of teams, they'll play man coverage more in the red zone, but the Dolphins were almost going exclusively that way against the Jets. And I think if that's the case, Young's just going to take off and score. And now Chuba Hubbard is going to potentially miss this game as well. So I'm just saying at this price point, it's really hard to overlook Bryce Young against this defense.
Yeah, the biggest challenge for Bryce Young is that his odds to get benched are probably also 6-1.
There's a non-zero chance he might finish the game.
Yeah, if he's in the game, I think he has a great chance, and I think he needs to use his legs more, to be completely honest. Yeah. He's doing a little better with the sacks and things like that, but there's just not enough guys getting open for him not to be using his legs a little more. So yeah, Ollie Gordon, Bryce Young, love it. Let's go to Raiders at Colts. For the Indianapolis Colts, got to go with Jonathan Taylor at minus 210 here. Now, that sounds juiced up. You could always go for his 2 touchdowns. Don't want to get greedy here, but I will say this. It is not often that you see a player as prominent as Jonathan Taylor underpriced in the touchdown market. I actually have his projected odds at minus 245. So to get him at minus 210 here, I'll take that all day. This is a Raider defense that over their last 41 running back carries have given up 3 rushing touchdowns. You saw McNichols, you saw Krosky, Merritt, and then Swift get in the end zone against this team. So like Taylor, and then shout to our guy Nick Giffen, the doctor. Got to go with Trey Tucker on the Raiders side. This is another interesting one because I have Tuck. He's at plus 275. I have him projected around plus 233, and I have Tucker's touchdown odds projected higher than Jacoby Myers, who in the touchdown market is plus 210 compared to Tucker's plus 275. So I think this is a steal to get Tucker at this price here. Love him in this spot. This is the kind of game where, he erupts right after a dud. So love Trey Tucker, love Jonathan Taylor in this spot. Raiders, Colts. Next up, we got the, disgustingness bowl. Koerner, I guess this is only right that you get this one. Texans at Ravens. The Ravens, they're not even using like the normal rushing quarterback that they usually use. You got Isaiah Likely, cardio kicking. We got Nick Chubb in here, getting usurped. But I think you kind of want to buy low on some guys in this spot.
Yeah, way to just blow the cover on these. Those are the 2 guys that I'm taking here. I was just thinking about the disgusting game. Yeah. First up, Nick Chubb. Okay, it's important to hear this next part. Plus 280. That's why I like him. Last week I was expecting Woody Marks to potentially get the hot hand and leapfrog Nick Chubb, and sure enough, he did. It was an easy matchup, of course, against the Titans. But I had Woody Marks in my crazy triple ground bet to lead the game in rushing, which he did. But then I got overzealous thinking Cam Ward could throw for more than 110 yards against the Texans. I was wrong about that. So that one was cooked. But I think, it could revert back to a 50-50 type timeshare. We don't really know yet. I do think Woody Marks is the better back right now. But I do think it is sort of a toss-up who would see the next goal line carry. So I think, Nick Chubb all the way up to plus 280 now probably is offering some decent value. So going to go with Chubb here. And on the other side, you mentioned him, the cardio king himself of week 4, Isaiah Likely at plus 550. Of course, he returned to the lineup last week, ran 20 routes for 0 targets. So he was, in fact, the cardio king that we awarded him on the Fantasy Flex. But I think, he's too good not to bounce back, I think, as soon as this week. The one wrinkle is, we don't know how this offense will look necessarily with Cooper Rush under center, but we do know that he's not going to scramble as much as Lamar Jackson. So if they're in the red zone, it's more likely that, Rush is going to attempt to pass than scramble. So I think that's going to help Likely, and Likely should be out there in most red zone packages. And again, he's too good to not bounce back at some point. So this week, he might be more involved, and at plus 550, I got to go with Likely here.
The Ravens defense, aren't they missing like half the team at this point right now as well? Like, I think that's the other thing.
The Ravens are missing. They're missing wins. They're missing a quarterback. They're missing. Yeah.
Roquan's out now too, or he's doubtful. Yeah, it's a good spot to invest in some Texans players for sure.
Yeah, if the Texans run one in, it's either going to be Chubb or Woody. If they just had Cameron Dicker to kick the extra point, we'd be in business here. All right. Denver at Philadelphia, Jill. What are you looking at for touchdowns? And Broncos at Eagles.
All right, well, to stick with the libido conversation, this game feels a little flaccid for touchdowns. I'll just say this for Broncos Eagles. So I've talked to Nick Giffen about this game probably more than any other game over the last 2 weeks, and no touchdown is seriously on the table in this game. It's around 100-1. The Eagles and Broncos, like their defenses are legit, like top 5 in the lowest explosive play rate allowed on both pass and the run. And then now they're facing each other this week. And both of these pass offenses have been pretty underwhelming through 4 games. Even the running game hasn't been great outside of maybe Jalen Hurts, who's maybe picked his own spots here or there. So I would just put a disclaimer out there that I'm going to give out a touchdown prop on each side, but no touchdown is extremely on the table. That was the first thing I wrote about this game when I did my anytime touchdown preview that'll come out this Sunday. So on the Eagles side, Dallas Goedert's around plus 400. That's where I would go. 2 touchdowns last week. The Eagles' interior offensive line they're graded really low, obviously from a run standpoint for PFF, but they just haven't been doing their job. And I think more passing could be coming, but that doesn't really mean that it's going to go to AJ Brown. Just because he sends a cryptic message doesn't mean that he's going to get more targets. It's not been the case from a squeaky wheel standpoint in this Eagles offense. And then, of course, he could be shadowed by Patrick Surtain for most of the game as well. Broncos, they play man coverage at the second highest rate. Goddard actually scored twice versus man defenses this year. Now, he did miss practice on Wednesday, but from reports out as of Thursday evening, he is back. So I'm optimistic he'll play. So Dallas Goedert is who I would vote for. If you were going to go with Devontae Smith, just make sure Dallas Goedert isn't playing, because that's when Devontae Smith sees his target rate go up. On the Broncos side, we're going Marvin Mims again, plus 450. I mean, he scored, and he could just score in a variety of ways. I think this is the thing about him that I just love, is that you could take the top off the defense. You could get a jet sweep. He's returning kicks, leads the team in end zone targets and ADOT. And one of the things about this Eagles defense, surprisingly, over the last 3 games, it should be 4 games straight, they've allowed a 50-plus yard touchdown in 3 of 4 games. And we've watched them just get kind of taken advantage of over the top. So I think Marvin Mims is the guy to do that, especially because he leads the team in ADOT. So Dallas Goedert and Marvin Mims, if I'm picking a touchdown on each side, but no touchdown at 100-1, is also going to be bet for this game.
Yeah, these are 2 really good defenses. I could see this being a lower scoring one, but always like Mims and like the Goddard call. I think he only had 1 catch. What was it, a couple weeks ago, and it was a touchdown. So
both of his touchdowns against the Bucs were both like shovel passes, like inside the
10-yard line. That was a great play call. I don't think we've ever seen that before in the NFL. Like, it was like everyone was just lined up to the right of Hurts, and it looked kind of like a tush push formation. They're getting creative
even
down
with
there.
The Barkley touchdown, they misdirected it twice in that game.
Yeah, they're starting to get mad at all those everyone talking about the tush push and just start styling on them. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you started to see more Eagles skill guy touchdowns, maybe at the expense of Jalen Hurts rushing. All right, Cowboys at the Jets. One thing I've kind of learned about these 2 teams, and I've kind of put it into play on the show, and I've been assigned these games, is you kind of just have to stick with the obvious guys in these spots. Yeah. So for Dallas, we're going Javonte Williams here. He was in on more red zone snaps than any other Cowboy last week. And the Jets, they've given up the most running back carries in the league. Teams are running on them. A lot of that is game script, but Miles Sanders a little banged up last week. Jaden Blue seemed to have bang somebody's mom or something. I don't know, but he hasn't gotten on the field yet. So it's all about Javonte in this spot. Got to give him an apology for, kind of being down on him heading into the year, but he's looked good. And, regardless of what's going on with this offensive line, he seems to be a focal point of the offense. So like him at even money, I actually have his touchdown odds higher than that. I think it's above 50% for Javonte Williams to get in the end zone in MetLife. And then for the Jets, Garrett Wilson, another guy who you don't expect to have to really project value at a guy at plus 150, but the Cowboys have given up an NFL high 9 touchdown receptions to opposing wide receivers. So Garrett Wilson's another guy who I have undervalued in the market. I have him close to a 50-50 touchdown bet in this spot for the New York Jets. So Javonte and Garrett Wilson for Cowboys at Jets. Koerner, man, did you just piss off our producers? You keep getting these games that I don't know if there's going to be. I mean, I know Jill didn't like the touchdowns in Eagles Broncos, but that's kind of a marquee game. You got Titans at Cardinals, and the Cardinals don't even have a running back right now. So
I know.
What are you doing with this?
I don't know what I did, but when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. So give me these weird games. I'm going to go for the Titans side. I'm going to go with Elick Iomanner at plus 420. Last week Calvin Ridley saw his playing time cut in half. Apparently he's dealing with a couple of injuries, and yesterday he set up practice with the knee and elbow injuries. I just got an alert recently that he missed today's practice. Today's Thursday. So the chances that he sits out this week are elevated now. So there's a chance Iomanner could be the lead dog this week. Already has 2 touchdowns this year. I think he's the future of this wide receiver room. So, the chemistry between he and Cam Ward should only get better as the season goes. So the plus 420 price, seems kind of high to me, pun intended. So I'm going to take it. And then on the other side, the running back room for the Cardinals opened up again. with, not only James Conner out for the season, but now Trey Benson's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to go with Amari DiMercato at plus 250. I had originally wrote Michael Carter here yesterday when he was like plus 170. Now he's down to even money. So the market is
sharp, to be fair.
Yeah. The market's caught on. He's going to be the lead back. He's probably going to take over most of the Trey Benson work or the James Conner work at this point. But DiMercato is probably going to mix in more on early down work than, Trey did with James or Carter did with Benson. So, I think at plus 250, he's kind of sneaky here. And he's going to be out there for all the passing downs, a 2-minute offense. That's how he scored last week. He was in there for that, 12, 15 play drive at the end of the game where he caught the touchdown. So, and anytime he's, had to step up, he's been pretty efficient. So I think even in, sort of the backup role still, he's sneaky here at plus 250.
Koerner, I have a question about Michael Carter, because he just got signed and now announced that he is the starter. Do you think he'll get kind of a starter role, or do you think?
I have him projected for double-digit carries. He had double-digit touches in his 3 games with them at the end of last year. He was the leading rusher in the preseason, so he's been with the team now for almost a year. So he was operating. I had DiMercato's under whatever it was, 14.5 rushing yards. So I was like intently watching who would come in for Benson on early downs, and it was Carter, just a few snaps, but he's been operating as the lead early down back outside of Benson. So I think he's going to be Raybon. What do you have projected for, like 12 carries, like somewhere around there? 10 to 13.
I think, definitely, right around double digits, right? Yeah, right at that spot. I think I'm going to bump him up a little more now. But we talked about this, full disclosure, off air last week, Koerner, because you asked me, like, how many carries do I have for DiMercato, and I was like a confident 1.5 because I had Carter taking that role.
It was going to be Bam Knight or Carter. We didn't know, right? Yeah. It could have been Bam Knight or Carter, and it was absolutely Carter with Bam Knight playing special teams. But we were intently, focused on the Trey Benson backups. So the fact that he's out, I think we're equipped now to kind of figure out how this is going to parse out.
And they definitely have Carter priced like he is the RB1 in this offense for touchdowns. Like he's around. I've seen him at minus 120, maybe even a plus 105 out there. But he's getting James Conner touchdown prices right now.
Yeah. We'll see if Bam Knight mixes in. I guess that's the kind of wild card, because it could be like 30-0 in the third quarter in this game if we see how Titans games have gone. Okay, and you mentioned Calvin Ridley. I think 2022 Calvin Ridley would also bet on Iumenor. So, with that said, let's go to Bucks at Seahawks. Jill, what you got?
All right. On the Bucks side, we'll go with Chris Godwin. He's at plus 275, 10 targets in week 4, first game back. Now, only 3 catches, but I kind of attribute a lot of that to rust. And I think this is a matchup where I think he could still be used quite a bit, especially if Baker's throwing the ball so well right now, because they play zone at a top 10 rate, a lot of cover 2 and a lot of cover 3. Again, if you have to use more last year sample size, but his target rate versus those coverages last year was much higher than compared to when he uses man defenses. Of course, Mike Evans is out. Bucky Irving is probably out as well. And then also another reason why I like Godwin here, especially I would like a Buccaneers touchdown that is within short range, because when you look at all the receiving touchdowns the Seahawks have allowed so far, the longest one they've allowed was last week to Marvin Harrison for 17 yards. 5 of those are inside the 10-yard line. So to me, that thinks, let's go for the receiver who has the lower ADOT and the lower average depth of target. And that's Chris Godwin right away. So on the Bucs side, we'll go with him. And this guy, I just can't quit him. Cooper Kupp is at plus 300. And I don't know what to do with the Seahawks offense if Cooper Kupp is going to be keeping price this way, because he's running as many routes as JSN, but that 40% target share for JSN is just not sustainable. So if he and Sam Darnold ever get on the same page, he might actually have a decent breakout opportunity, especially against a Bucs defense that just is so good against the run. I don't expect much from Kenneth Walker or our guy, Zach Charbonnet, at this point. So I do think the Seahawks are going to have to throw a little bit more. And if they double up on JSN, which I kind of hope they do, that'll be to Cooper Kupp, who's a touchdown price around 3-1.
I agree. JSN's target share, 40%. Unsustainable. It's got to go up to like 50 or 60%. Like he needs more targets.
Or at least more end zone targets. I mean, I think that's the big thing for me with him is that he's a killer between the 20s, but they don't really target him that much in the red zone.
Yeah, JSN, Cardio King, right?
He was for 3.5 quarters last week. That had to be 500 to 1. That I was saying that had to be 500 million to 1.
Thursday night weirdness. All right. What do we got? Lions at Bengals. For the Bengals, got to roll with T. Higgins here at plus 230. If you look at Higgins' career with Jake Browning, he scored 4 times on 20 completions. That's once every 5 catches. With Joe Burrow, it's double that. It's once every 10 catches. Obviously, a lot bigger sample size. But the point is, Browning, still one of the better backups in the league. It hasn't showed it, but he's played against 2 of the top defenses in the Vikings and then the Denver Broncos. Those are 2 just murderous defenses. Now, the Lions are still solid, but they're not at that level. This is a game where I think it could turn into a shootout here, unlike, the last couple as well. So, like T. Higgins at plus 230 here, he has, been efficient from a touchdown perspective with Browning behind center. And for the Lions, rolling with Amon-Ra St. Brown here, the Bengals have been playing a lot of single high in this this new season with their new coordinator Al Golden, and Amon-Ra has all 4 of the Lions receiving touchdowns against single high. Now you would think it would be J-Mo more. Amon-Ra has doubled him up in first reads in against single high, and caught all the touchdowns. And so it seems like even when defenses are playing single high, they're kind of rotating coverage to J-Mo on those deeper routes, and it's leaving Amon-Ra and with opportunities underneath. So that's kind of how you have to play it with this Lions offense at this point, because J-Mo will run away from you. So don't hate him either, but just based on my projections, Amon-Ra at minus 105, I have him at over a 50% touchdown odds for this game, touchdown probability. So I like him right there around even money. So going to roll with him. Don't hate J-Mo either, but officially rolling with Amon-Ra St. Brown along with T. Higgins. Bengals.
Raybon, I got a question for you about the Bengals offense, specifically touchdown odds. What is the threshold that Jamar Chase would have to hit before you guys would be like, all right, I'm back on board? Because the last 2 weeks with Browning has been around 170 to plus 180. And, I'm just wondering kind of, because that people are going to wonder, they want to bet Jamar Chase. They want the top wide receiver, but when you got Jake Browning, you got to take that into consideration. So I'm kind of wondering from your guys' perspective, what would the odds have to be your threshold before you'd be like, all right, I'm back on Chase now?
Ooh,
plus 200. Plus 200.
That's what I was thinking too, but I wanted to just hear it. I needed to hear it. I needed some confirmation on my end.
Yeah. I actually maybe a little higher for me. Maybe like plus one. What did you say it was plus 175?
Yeah, give or take. Yep.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that price. I have him. I do have him and Higgins. I have both as values on this slate. So I could have got him a Chase, for this one. But yeah, Browning, I think he's going to hit wide receivers. This Lion defense will play a little bit more man coverage than usual, I think. So I think this is a good spot. We've seen, what have we seen? Sample score for the Bengals this year. We've seen a lot of tight end touchdowns. So I think just in general, wide receiver touchdowns for the Bengals are a little undervalued. And Yoshi, he's kind of up and down in terms of the routes, but even him for a long shot, depending on his odds, would be in play. But yeah, I don't mind Chase around plus 175 or higher. So he's kind of right at that threshold for me. So we got the Commanders at the Chargers. Chargers coming off that loss to Jackson Dart. Koerner, who are we looking at for Washington at LA?
Yeah, so this might be my favorite bet so far on the Commanders side. It's Chris Rodriguez Jr. to score the first touchdown at 12 to 1. Because ever since Austin Eckler went down in week 2, we've seen a very murky 3-way committee for the Commanders, where C-Rod actually gets the first 2 drives. That was the old Eckler role. And then he gives way to Bill Krosky-Merritt, who's looked phenomenal this year. And he pretty much owns early down work the rest of the game with Jeremy McNichols, mixing in, but handling most of the, passing down work. But the fact that C-Rod's involved so much in the first 2 drives, those are like his drives. He sees about half his work in the game on the first 2 drives, means he's a little bit underpriced to score the first touchdown here. at 12-1. He's a bruiser too. You know, if they get down to the goal line on the first 2 drives, he would be the one getting the goal line work. And I think he's very talented short yarders back. So give me C-Rod to score the first touchdown at 12-1. And then on the Chargers side, there's always so many options, but I got to go with my flavor of the week here, Oronde Gadsden the second at plus 280, because like I said last week, we're probably not getting Hampton at minus 120 anytime soon. I mean, he just saw a massive workload. He looked great. So I think he's up to like minus 150 everywhere. So, and, you know, Quentin Johnson, he's having a breakout year. He's the most likely Chargers pass catcher to score here, but his market's all the way down to plus 150. I think the guy to invest in now is Gadsden, who, you know, he was a 4th or 5th round pick, but he gives me Darren Waller vibes. He always has. So I think he's who they intend to be their pass catching tight end, you know, long term. And ever since Will Disley went out, he has been operating as the pass catching tight end. So we'll see what happens if Disley returns this week. I'm guessing Conklin will be the odd man out. But if not, you know, they'll make Gadsden a healthy scratch. Like he's either going to be a healthy scratch or the lead pass catching tight end. Nothing in between, because he doesn't really provide much else. So I think we're kind of safe here in that aspect. So give me Gadsden the second at plus 280 here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could get Tucker Fisk as the healthy scratch too, but he's like more of a special teams blocker type, and I agree. I think he might have a role regardless because he still have some other injuries there. But yeah, I mean, Quentin Johnston, it's just ridiculous at this point. I hope it's not him again. I mean, I don't hope that, but I hope your guys get into, because he's just been hogging all the scores. Love Gadsden. All right, we're gonna get into our primetime games. Before we continue, don't forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Sean Koerner, Gilles Gallant, myself, and our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Koerner and our predictive analytics team. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with promo code POD20. That's POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. Before we get into Sunday night game, Monday night, we've been having fun with the Parlay Express account in the free award-winning Action Network app. So let's make a quick parlay of our top 3 favorite anytime touchdown picks from the Sunday afternoon slate. This is our favorite Sunday anytime touchdown parlay presented by DraftKings. Sean Koerner, you're up first. Who you got?
I'm going to go with my Elic Iomanor plus 421. I think that's a good price. I'll go with him.
Joe.
I'm going to go with Ollie Gordon to get a touchdown on that Panthers defense. He's around plus 325.
All right. Well, you guys got plus money, so I'm just going to go with some chalk here to kind of balance it out.
We need an anchor leg.
Yeah, let's go Jonathan Taylor, minus 225. You parlay Iomanor at plus 420, Gordon at plus 325, and Taylor at minus 225 on DraftKings, and you get plus 24.48. It's about 24.5, 2-1 on DraftKings. That was our favorite anytime touchdown parlay presented by DraftKings. All right, Sunday Night Football, Patriots at Bills divisional matchup. Koerner is the guy I know you're going to give out. We talked about him on the Fantasy Flex. Why do you like him in this spot?
Yeah, I'm going to go James Cook here at minus 155. I have zero shame with this. I'm actually showing some slight value, but I know both of you guys, we've talked off the side just how annoying it is that he just keeps scoring. I'm not projecting against it here. Raybon, we have talked about just manually projecting him to score at this point. Yeah, so I figure since we're putting it, I'll be the anchor on this since we're putting a parlay together. I like it. I probably wouldn't bet it straight up. Again, minus 155 for a guy that should technically see some touchdown regression at some point isn't a great bet. But I mean, he's in one of the top scoring offenses in the league. Yes, he's going to lose some touchdowns to Josh Allen in the red zone, but there's plenty of chances. So Cook typically does end up getting a score. Plus, he's seeing such a big workload. Raybon, you've mentioned this. They're just unleashing him after this contract. They're not mixing in Ray Davis as much. Ray Davis is essentially the backup kicker right now. He's not even the backup running back. He's just watching from.
I said this on the show last week. Where's Ray Davis? Where's Ray Davis? Milk cartoned out.
I think he's the backup kicker. I'm almost half serious because Bass is hurt. They got Prater there. If Prater goes down, Ray Davis is their kicker. So that's my only theory I could think of.
Ray Davis's name should be Bass, because if you look at it's B-Ass. That's what Ray Davis is in fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. So Ray Davis, he's on a milk carton. This is the type of game where James Cook is going to see max workload. So give me Cook minus 155.
Joe, what you got?
All right, I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. And just to clarify for some people that I've seen post on social, this is not a revenge game. He played against the Bills last season with the Texans. There were people who were like, man, they're going to go up against the Bills revenge spot. And it's like, no. I just want to take him because I like his odds. He's around plus 260. I think he's going to have a decent matchup because, honestly, when you look at Christian Benford and the way that he's been playing so far this year, getting burned quite a bit. Got burned by Chris Olave near at the end of the game as well. So I think Stephon Diggs, even though he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year, he is still, playing the majority of snaps, running the majority of routes. So I think this is a matchup where he can win. So I'll take it at plus 260.
And I got to go with Dawson Knox at 6-1. Now, Dawson Knox came into the year, I think we were talking about, expected Kincaid's touchdown share to go up because Josh said he missed him a ton last year in the red zone. However, looking at the usage last week, Knox, all 6 of the red zone routes. Kincaid 0 for this Buffalo Bill offense. And that spells Knox touchdown. So give me Knox at 6-1 in this spot. We saw last week the New England Patriots going up against the Carolina Panthers. Who scored for Carolina? Tommy Tremble and Mitchell Evans. So you had both of the top 2 tight ends. James Mitchell came from the dead to get 2 receptions. Koerner, talk about a tail outcome. James Mitchell caught 2 balls for 17 yards last week as the 3rd tight end. So I think this is a really good spot for Knox, who technically is the backup tight end, but in the red zone, looks like he's going to be that lead tight end. So we've hit on Jackson Hawes on this show. I don't know if we've hit on Kincaid or not, but I know we've hit on Hawes, so we're going with Knox here. These odds are ridiculous. 6-1, well underpriced. Love him in this spot. You could parlay these all together at DraftKings. You'd get about a 36.5-1 parlay with Cook anytime touchdown, Diggs anytime touchdown, and Dawson Knox anytime touchdown for the Sunday night matchup between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Monday night, another good one. Jacksonville, Kansas City. Koerner, I'm sitting here feeling good about my Jaguars to win the division. Just got to see some more Colts stumblage. Maybe not feeling as good about my Chiefs Super Bowl ticket. Which team you looking at for a touchdown score in this spot?
Chiefs Super Bowl should be fine. They're gonna, eventually make the playoffs, and I'm not buying that yet. But I am gonna go with the Chiefs player here, Brashard Smith, at plus 475. We finally saw him start to get more work last week. Caught 3 balls for 27 yards. They keep saying they want to get him even more involved. Probably at the expense of Isaiah Pacheco. I think that experiment might be over. Good news for you, Raybon.
Isn't Chris Rodriguez Jr. all we wanted Isaiah Pacheco to be? Like, come in, get some early work, just run over people, score a touchdown early in the game, short, like that. He's everything we wanted Pacheco to be.
Smith can win downfield. Like he plays like a wide receiver at times. So I think he could catch a long one if needed, but I think he's an excellent pass catching back. And they really haven't had one since Jerick McKinnon. So they've been, lacking this in their offense the past couple seasons. Plus, allowing Mahomes to check down will prevent him from scrambling as much. I know he's been scrambling at such a high rate. They probably don't want that, all season. So Smith could be the guy that they kind of limit Mahomes scrambles, but I think he's going to play a ton more this week. They've already hinted at that. So yeah, give me Smith, the rookie, at plus 475.
All right, Joe, where are you going, and how is his hair?
Well, I would definitely give Trevor Lawrence this. He definitely has the nicest hair from all quarterbacks. Definitely nicer than mine for sure. But yeah, at the same time, very nice odds, around plus 450 to score a touchdown in this game. And if Liam Cohen and the coach speak finally comes through, after 4 weeks of we're going to implement the tush push, this is the guy to do it. I mean, he's got the physicality and the stature to be able to pull this off. And frankly, I'm still not really sold on Travis Etienne. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe depending on a fantasy rank standpoint, I just still don't love him as like a 3-down RB1 type of back. So I do think if they get inside the 5-yard line, I think Trevor Lawrence at this price is pretty good at plus 450 to score on a defense that frankly hasn't looked very good in stopping quarterbacks and rushing so far this year. Justin Herbert had some success. Lamar was having success before he got hurt. So anyway, just the point is that Trevor Lawrence, I think at this price is where you want to grab him. Anything over 4-1.
Yeah, still been waiting for that score for Lawrence down in there, but I think it's coming because he's probably better off not uncorking some of those red zone passes.
Some of the turnover worthy plays is just, it's mind boggling to watch. So, and I think the other thing too with him is that we've seen it in the past. He has a little bit of upside even for 2 rushing touchdowns if you wanted to get real spicy.
Yeah, and so I love that one. This is not going to be as correlated, but I think it's going to happen sooner or later. I'm going Travis Hunter at plus 275 now. With kind of raised my eyebrow a little about Hunter heading into this game, which Monday night primetime game. Liam Cohen getting called out for all types of things last week, still wins the game. Now you're at home. Travis Hunter only played wide receiver in the second half of that Niner game last week. They asked him why. He said, due to some personal in-house decisions. Not personnel, but personal in-house decisions. Cohen's an offensive guy, Sean, coming into the year. I know we talked about, you figured that at some point it would kind of even out to more offensive snaps. Defensive, I think he's played a lot more than we expected. But in this spot, I'm looking for Hunter to score here. He was in on all of their red zone passes a week ago. So second half, all wide receiver, a guy that's still going to be in there in the red zone. If it's not Lawrence, I think, Hunter starts to get going here. They can't just keep throwing to Parker Washington and Diami Brown forever down there. At some point, they just got to play it a little more straight up and give the ball to Hunter. So we started to see a little mini breakout last week for Hunter. So I think he keeps it going. This is the time of year where I feel like any rookies who haven't scored, you kind of just keep hammering them home because they're going to get in sooner or later. That's, once you get into 5 games, even any full-time player, you usually expect them to score for a third of their game. So now that we're in week 5, guys that haven't scored, you're going to start seeing more of that. So this is a nice juicy parlay here. Brashard Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter, 144-1. You can get those parlay odds. So that's a nice little juicy one to close out the week. As I mentioned, we'll add these anytime touchdown parlays to the Parlay Express account in the Action app. So go follow Parlay Express if you have not already. Have some fun with us on some of these longer shots and parlays. While you're looking at Parlay Express in the Action app, be sure to sign up for Action Pro. It's the only way for you to get the best bets at the best prices with immediate notifications when Action experts post their picks. You can get $20 off right now by using promo code POD20. That's POD20 when you sign up for 1 year of Action Pro. That is going to do it for our NFL Week 5 touchdown show presented by DraftKings. Many thanks to Sean Koerner, Gilles Gallant for joining me. If you want to tail some of the touchdown bets we discussed today, find the quick slip link in the podcast and video description or visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. And don't forget, if you're on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it, we have a great new feature. If you see a bet from any of your favorite action experts or anyone on gambling Twitter, you can now tag @Playbook and tell our bot to build you a bet slip at a sportsbook of your choice. It will build it out for you with a quick slip link that opens right up to your sportsbook. So check that out. It's Playbook on Twitter, just @Playbook. It's a great feature. And make sure to subscribe to the Action Network podcast so you don't miss another episode all season long. Here at Stuckey, breaking down the 6-pack as far as the against the spread sides and totals we like on Wednesdays as well. You can find Koerner on X @_oddsmaker. Jill is at GDog5000 DAWG. And I am at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Go download it. Until week 6, let's get this money.